My fellow scapegoats, this is a great question. How do we learn to not react? It's so triggering and hard when we're being provoked. It's really important to remember that narcissists love conflict. They thrive on it, actually. For one, they're miserable human beings, so there's that. And for two, they are reliant on the reaction of their scapegoat, because they need you and the people around them to believe that your reaction when provoked is the issue, not that their abusive behavior is the issue. Understanding this is key to learning how to not react. There are some techniques you can use, and emotion regulation skills are very important. Something all complex trauma survivors have in common, especially the scapegoat, is that we have trouble regulating our emotions. This is where you're going to learn emotion regulation skills, the Dialectical Behavior Therapy Skills Workbook. In an ideal world, you would work alongside a therapist, but not all of us can afford therapy. This is where I started. This book walks you through distress tolerance skills, mindfulness, including radical acceptance, identifying emotions and where we feel them in our body so that we can learn to effectively regulate them over time. It seems simple, but it kind of is. Being able to identify anger in your body and learning how to regulate your anger is key to people that are trying to provoke you to get angry. There are also techniques that you can use. One is called drop the rope. Imagine you are in a tug of war with a narcissistic person. What happens if you just drop the rope? They fall right into the mud. And yes, you knew this one was coming. Grey Rock does work. If you can learn to regulate those emotions better, having no reaction to them at all, just being disinterested, really does work. I highly recommend this book, The Human Magnet Syndrome. Ross Rosenberg was the first expert I started following when I initially learned about narcissistic personality disorder and the narcissistic family. He teaches you about the dance, that's what he calls it, between the narcissist and the codependent. He doesn't like that word. He wants to change it to self-love deficit disorder, which I do love. But there is a dance. The narcissist is reliant on your reaction. They need a scapegoat in order to avoid accountability and project blame. One of the tactics in his book, called Observe, Not Absorb, is really helpful. Observe, not absorb is really useful if you start practicing it. You're essentially watching it through an observational lens, emotionless, as though you're taking data. Once you're able to actually see how dysfunctional their behavior really is, understanding it has nothing to do with you at all, you start to gain power. Once you don't react to them, they are losing power. One of the questions I ask myself before I'm around anyone that I know has some narcy type traits is, what type of reaction can I potentially prepare for today? And before people come after me and say, oh my God, that's so negative, that'll just put me in fight or flight or make me walk on eggshells. That's why the regulation skills are so important. Because if you can anticipate what they might do from a logical place as opposed to being in fear and emotional, you are 2 steps ahead of them. Trust me. How do you do that? Another DBT skill called Wise Mind. It is a balance between your logical, reasonable mind and your emotions. You're acknowledging your feelings, you're recognizing that you feel a certain way, but it's learning how to respond in a rational manner. If you're able to use these techniques and regulate your emotions, that's not to say that you will not still have a reaction internally. You will, but you learn how to handle it better. And over time, the narcissist just gets bored because you don't give them that power. You don't react anymore.